One day we were teaching in our classroom like normal. Then suddenly everything changed. Schools closed, our whiteboards were replaced with computer screens, and we had to figure out how to teach from home, basically overnight. From tech fails to surprise guest appearances by pets and other kids, the shift to online learning was nothing short of an adventure. Join us as we take a trip down memory lane and share the chaos, the creativity, and how we learn to pivot.
This is Teachers on the Loose.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Teachers on the Loose, the podcast where we turn teacher tales into belly laughs and life lessons. I'm Celeste.
I'm Kristen.
I'm Allison.
And I'm Kelsey.
Today, we're sharing the story of how we went from teaching in the classroom to teaching online, a shift none of us saw coming. It was a brand new adventure filled with challenges, creativity, and plenty of unexpected moments. How did we adjust? What did we do to keep our students engaged from behind the screen? And most importantly, how did we bring fun and connection to virtual learning? Stick around as we take you behind the scenes of one of our biggest challenges we've ever faced in teaching.
But before we jump into today's episode and share that experience, we wanted to say a huge thank you for listening to last week's episode. That was all about our surprise visitor.
What is that screeching noise?
Oh yeah, that's bats. Those are bats.
They're back, Kristen. They're back to get you.
I wish you could see
Do
your
not
face
call
right
the
now.
doctor, please. You're
I
fine.
need to make an appointment.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, we talked all about building your classroom community with lots of positive feedback, rewards, and strong class management. And we know that teaching can be challenging, and we want to remind you that it's okay to ask for help. And there are moments when we fail, but those moments can be some of the greatest learning. And sometimes it's okay to embrace the chaos.
Okay, let's jump back into today's episode. You guys, do you believe that we are coming up on the 5-year anniversary of when our whole life changed in
Wow.
teaching?
No, really.
Yeah, this episode is going to be all about the experiences where we all had to learn how to pivot and change how we did things on a daily basis. And I still remember that day like it was yesterday. Do you guys remember? It was Friday, March 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and it was in the morning. We started hearing that nearby districts were starting to shut down for spring break early because of the illness that was going around. And by lunchtime of that day, we were told to pack our students up like they wouldn't be returning on Monday and that we would be having an extended spring break for like 3 weeks. And we tried to keep things normal for the rest of the day, but it was feeling a little different in the school. And as we all said goodbye, I think that we all might have just hugged our students a little bit more tighter and
Longer.
had that different feeling because we kind of knew that something different was happening.
But we had no idea what.
We had no idea, not a clue. We just, like, I think it was a little weird because I was feeling like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're going to get an extended spring break. On the other hand, I'm like, but wait, is this coming
Surreal?
to our
Is that
part
the-
of the
yeah.
country? We'd been seeing it on TV and everything. Is this really coming? And is this, like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And so it was, like, uncertain, but also, like, it was just an odd day.
Yeah.
So knowing how close we all are and how much we all value relationships and spending time with each other, how did we pivot in this situation to maintain our relationships when we couldn't be with each other?
Well, you know me. I'm a little bit of a talker.
Really?
I know, I do. I like to chat. So being in my house and not being able to see my friends and my coworkers and my students and to be able to chit chat, that was hard for me. So one thing that I did was I would reach out and I would just call people and be like, hey, what are you doing now? And we would be on the phone for like half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes hours, and just get caught up and find out like what was happening in each other's worlds. And
Yeah.
I loved our long chats.
yeah, they were great.
I also remember we kind of got a little bored. I mean, 3 weeks is a long time. So we're like, well, why don't we learn something new, right? And we decided to learn sign language.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so Allison's daughter taught us a few things.
Yeah, she was taking a class at the time through a college. And
Yeah.
so she was like learning things and then she would teach us, which helped her with her.
Through a Google Meet. We were all on the computer at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she would she would be on the computer teaching us different signs, and then we would learn them and then come back the next week and learn another sign. And so it was a fun time. I remember that being like a fun memory.
Yeah. And we also like gave each other homework, and we would have to learn like fruit or animals or things like that. And I remember I had to teach you guys fruit. I just, I kind of wish I kept it up, because that's 5 years of knowing sign language.
Well, I think that we were all like, hey, we have this gift of time. I think all of us probably felt that urgency of like, I need to be doing something. I can't just sit here and wait. And so doing that sign language Google Meet kind of gave us something to look forward to and something to engage our brains in
And connect with each other.
Yeah.
Well, I remember it was one of our friends' birthdays, and we wanted to get together and see each other. So we had a driveway birthday party.
Yeah.
And we all got our lawn chairs, and
We spread out. We were at
and-
least 6 feet apart.
And Allison, did you have a fun moment with a cat?
My friend's cat jumped up on my leg, and I love this cat. She's the sweetest, most softest cat I've ever felt.
Soft?
And so I was petting that cat, but that cat still has her claws, and she was digging into my legs, and I was like, I love this cat. Oh my gosh, it hurt so bad. But yeah, so that was a fun memory of doing that.
So fun. I remember some game nights because
Yes.
we love a good game. And I think, didn't we orchestrate like a Yahtzee night?
We had Yahtzee.
We were trying to think of a game that all of us would have, and we assumed everybody's got dice at home. And so we all got on a Google Meet, and we played a mean game of Yahtzee that night.
Did you win?
Hell yeah, I won. I mean, I don't know, but
I
sure.
think I didn't. I couldn't find our dice, so I'd found like an app that I could roll on the computer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Again, pivoting, right? Like
job.
I don't have dice. How am I going to play?
But I have pictures of us, shaking our dice and
Through the Google screen.
Through the Google
Like we
screen
were
and-
all in
yeah.
our own houses, but we would take pictures of the screen of us playing games.
yeah, good time.
Well, this was my first year as a learning coach, and that year we had started team PLC meetings when we were still in person, and we would meet with each grade level team, the admin and myself, and each week we'd meet and plan or look at data and do different trainings with teams. And during this time when we were now at home, we wanted to continue that and be able to have that time to check in with teams. But now we did it virtually, and every week we would have one day where we met with each team, and we'd sign on to each meet. We'd meet with a team, then we go on to the next one. And it was a long day of meeting with each team and checking in. But I always look forward to the first grade team meetings.
Yes. Hey, and you, Celeste, Kristen, and I were all on the first
Yes,
grade
we
team
were
at
all
this
together at
time,
this
so
time.
that was
Yeah.
that was fun.
Why did it bring you so much joy?
I just
What are you talking about?
There was always going to be some sort of surprise waiting for me every time I signed into the first grade meet. And it definitely brought me joy on those long days. Like, okay, what is it going to be today?
I remember being excited about that, but how did it get started?
I don't really remember, but I feel like there was a moment where we were talking and we were about to jump on an all staff meeting. Like everybody in the building was going to jump on a Google Meet. And I think we had joked like, hey, wouldn't it be really funny if we dressed up and lightened the mood? And you were like, ha, 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 yeah, funny.
Yeah.
And then
You were the only one,
You were
right?
serious.
You were
I took it serious. And so I wore Casey's Wreck-It Ralph wig
Yes.
from Halloween.
Oh my
And then Wreck-It Ralph has these giant hands. And so I show up with a wig and these giant hands on. And nobody
And we were just normal.
And we were all like,
And I was like,
look at Celeste.
okay. And so I think that sparked the idea. And so
Yeah.
from there, our team, we would like have a pre-meeting before the actual meeting with admin. And we're like, okay, what are we going to do this week?
I remember at the time there was a stupid show on, and we were all
But we were very
watching it.
into it.
We were all into it. We were all watching Tiger King,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God.
Do you remember one of the themes that we did was we were all showing up as different characters
Yeah.
from Tiger King?
Yes.
I have a video of that one, and you interrupt our principal at the time, and you're like, hold on. And you're like, all right, all you cool cats and kittens.
I was Carol Baskin.
You sure were.
That's so funny.
And
Oh
I
my gosh.
have all my kids stuffed tigers around.
I was just wearing an animal print sweater or something, but I mean, I think that was our first one, and then we got really into it.
Yeah.
We did. And again, I probably had a last minute, hey guys, I think we should do this. And you all jumped on because you love me so much. But I was like, there's this trend where there's this dance. And let's learn the dance and let's dress up in like 80s workout gear. And when we jump on the call, we'll do this dance.
So that morning, Joe
That
was like,
was that-
what
yeah.
are you doing? And I'm like, don't bother me. I am learning the steps to this dance. So I remember being very stressed out, like learning
Our
like Zumba
routine.
moves.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't
Yes.
remember the song like them. But your guys' faces when for that one, you and our two principals, you guys were just like, their expression was so excited, so happy.
You guys were like waiting for like the next move. What are they going to do
Yeah.
next? Like we were like the Cirque du Soleil people, but we're like just literally just tapping our foot. But we were all, I mean, we're in sync. So
We were
We
good.
were-
Yeah.
It was impressive.
with 5 minutes to prep.
Yeah.
So that was
you guys
fun.
did good with that. I remember the spa day one, and you guys had like the face masks on and cucumbers on your eyes and towels in your hair.
I think one of our administrators got a little freaked out. 'Cause
Yeah.
somebody was in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Allison,
I was in the bathtub.
you had candles.
Yep. I had candles going.
And you had that like calming music.
Enya was playing in the background.
And I think our principal got nervous because that one person had a towel wrapped around them. But it was like,
They were literally not dressed. They were dressed.
Everybody
underneath.
had on clothes.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Nothing more than G-rated. So.
Well, one time we also did a fancy theme, like we were queens or princesses. Yeah, Allison, you had a legit crown and gloves.
So we had discussed this like 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
So I remember reaching out to a lady that I know who has a lot of costume jewelry. She used to work at our school.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, I'm totally all about this. I will disinfect everything, spray it all off, set it on my porch, and you can do a porch pickup and then just let it sit for a week and it'll be fine. And so I had like all of her jewelry. I had gloves. I had
You were wearing a tiara?
I had a tiara from her. I was
You had a
sipping
fancy
on
dress.
on a glass of sparkling water in my
Yes,
wine
we all
glass.
had wine glasses.
Yes.
At 8 a.m.
And I
filled
was
with
like
water.
staring out the window like the queen that I am, and and they pop on and we're all like very, very fancy.
Yes.
For this online meeting.
And then, of course, we were gangster rappers one time where we had our hoods up
Of
and
course.
our sunglasses and we were like, yo, 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 what's up?
Did we change our names on?
Oh yeah, we did it on the Google
So on the
Meet.
Google Meet, it'll like display
yeah,
who's
that's
there. And we
right.
we changed our names. I was C Money.
I think I was K-Dog. That was my original.
I think I was DJ Larcy Lars.
But didn't one of you not change your name in time
Oh,
for
yeah.
an actual meeting with students?
Yeah. And then it pops up DJ Larcy Lars when you're just supposed to be their teacher. But
Oh, that's so funny.
yeah, so funny.
What kind of things did you do to pivot and maintain relationships and learning with your students?
I remember the first grade team being like, hey, let's keep the learning that we started with money and let's do a video. And oh my gosh, we were so cheesy, but they loved it. We were all like, we're going to find change randomly around our house and then we'll count it up and add it with them. And I think, Celeste, weren't you like on a hoverboard going down your sidewalk and you're like, hey, look, I just randomly found some change on the street.
Yeah, I remember being on the hoverboard. I don't really know how I bent down to pick up the change without falling, but
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Like that was, I was like, holy bananas. I couldn't even get on a hoverboard without falling. So the fact that you did it
Yeah.
and bent down, got it, and stood back up and then counted
and
the
was
change.
talking the whole while. And Kristen, you were in your basement watching a movie?
Yeah, and lo and behold, there was coins in the cup holder.
Weird.
Yeah. So I
I-
counted them.
I remember you being like, oh, look, I got my popcorn. I've got my drink. I'm going to put my drink in my cup. Oh, there's change. That's
Let's count it together.
yeah. And
I think
then,
it took like 30 takes.
Yeah.
At 5 seconds.
we
It
were,
was, yeah, weird new.
We were
to
Did
all
we
that.
also do a video with time Because
Yes!
I found me in a video saying like, oh my gosh, guys, it's 6:30. Guess what I do at 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Did we do?
It was really
I do that?
5:30 in the morning,
I
but
know,
yeah.
I was gonna say, you've
It
been up
wasn't
for
6.
hours. by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. No, we did do a time video because I remember walking down the stairs and getting my shoes on because I was like, oh, it's 11 o'clock or 11:30. I don't remember, but I'm going to go on a walk now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we would put all of our clips together into one video and then push it out to our kids for the math lesson for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that was a
fun.
lot of
I
fun.
don't remember what I did for my time. Like, I can't remember that at all. But I do know that my big clock on the wall was my clock that I used. And I took the batteries out so that I could record it and it wouldn't change the time.
Yeah, you had to
And
make
it
sure
is
was the
now
right
5
time.
years later. That clock is still on that time. I didn't put the batteries back in that clock. It's just more for decoration
funny.
anyway. But didn't we all do like a flat Stanley? Like we made a little Bitmoji picture
Yes.
of ourselves and then sent it out to the students
We
through
did.
mail. And then we were like, hey, take pictures of you doing stuff, send it in. And then we'd put that in with our videos to our classes. Like that was another way
Yeah.
that we would connect with our kids, right?
Yeah, it was so fun because you could see what they were up to, but then they would bring us along on the adventure, and I would have a picture of flat me at the beach or
went to
hiking in
the
the mountains.
beach?
I did. I went all kinds of places. I was in backyards.
One of my students colored me and then made a little bed for me.
Aw. That's cute.
One thing that I did to keep relationships going with my kids is I had a really high group of students that year who just wanted to keep learning. So I arranged a time for these kids to get together and have a book club. And so there was a platform where we could read books online. So I pushed those books out and they would read the books and then we'd come together and have a little book club. And it was so much fun.
Cute.
I love that. I would do read alouds with my classes and they would all be on the screen together and just I remember it would take longer to get everybody on the screen and muted than it would take to read the book. But it didn't matter because we were all together and that relationship was still growing. And if somebody wasn't on, the kids were like, where's so and so? And so that relationship was still able to be fostered even through the computer screen.
Yeah. I think we did like a virtual stuffed animal day, and that was really fun.
It was fun because getting them to just pick one. I remember I'd have kids be like, here's my stuff. Wait. And then they'd run off screen really quick and go get like 3 more stuffed animals.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I really want to show you this one too.
I think it was also a pajama day that day for my class. We did a PJ stuffy
So
day.
fun.
Yeah.
I remember doing a virtual picture day because we missed our picture day in the spring. And so it was like, everybody show up on this time and I'm going to take a picture, a screenshot of our
Class. Yeah.
all in the little boxes on the Google Meet. And then we all sent those into the office. And then those were our class pictures in our yearbook that year. Yeah. I also remember going to a student's house. The parents didn't speak English and they were communicating to me through Dojo saying, hey, we can't get onto the computer. We can't get our Chromebooks to work. And I could translate that through Dojo, but I wasn't able to connect with the student. And so I went over to his apartment and I had arranged it through Dojo with the parents that I would go and I would sit on one of the sidewalk cracks and it was 6 feet away from the next sidewalk crack. And he would come out and sit on that sidewalk crack. And then we would talk and that student and I would be able to still connect and I would bring my little whiteboard and I would do the money thing with him there or the time or whatever it is that we'd done in class. And I remember him being just so excited to have that connection back in, even though he wasn't able to do the whole class things.
I think those one-on-one times were my most favorite time. I would do one-on-one calls with my students. And I remember one student who was super into art and all she wanted to do was show me all of her art, but then she wanted to draw. She's like, do you want to just draw together? And so she got her art supplies and I got my art supplies and we just sat and chatted on the
that's so
computer
sweet.
and we painted and drew together.
That's cute. Yeah, I remember being on a call with a girl that she showed me her whole house and now
You got a tour.
and I was like getting dizzy watching on the screen going, great, that's awesome. And then I'd have to look away because I remember just feeling I'm going to get sick if I keep watching her take me into every single room. But it was fun because we got to see our students through a different lens. We got to like literally see them through a different
right.
lens. But we got to see them interacting with their pets and see their bedroom. And the one kid was showing me every single action figure that he owns. And we got to know them at a different level than what we would have just in the classroom.
And even sometimes their families and their siblings too. So I remember one student who wanted to create a board game. And so he went all out and he made this volcano dinosaur board game. And then he invited my 2 kids and his siblings and mom. And so everybody was on the call and we all sat around and played this game together. And it was such a good moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and didn't we make a "We Miss You" video?
Oh, yeah.
Like all of us did it, and we pushed it out to families. But didn't they do that for us too?
Oh yeah, they like wrote something on a
Yes.
sign and either took a picture or video
Yes.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So sweet. So many moments where we got to connect with our students and their families and learn more about them. But I'm just curious, what was the funniest moment that happened while teaching online and how did you pivot in that moment?
Well, I had one teacher that contacted me and said, I have a student that's working on coding and they're stuck. Can you help her? So I scheduled this Google Meet with the second grader and we got on the video call and we started chatting about coding and the program she was using and I was giving her some tips. Well, mid-call, her dad opens the door and he's like, hey, it's time for lunch. And this student then says to him, like she puts her hand up like a stop, and goes, I'm in a meeting right now. I'll be down in a
It's
bit.
very adult.
Very adult. And she turns the screen and gestures to the screen. And I just awkwardly waved at the dad. And he just backed out of the room and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. All right, I'll see you in a bit.
That's cute.
And I just started laughing because I'm like, what a funny turn of events. This second grader telling her dad that she's in a meeting and she's busy.
I'll be with you for lunch in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had lots of awkward and funny moments too, because we're being invited into their home, and you never know what's going to happen. I had a family conference one time, and the parents, they just kind of stared at me, and it was new for them too, being on a video call with their child's teacher. So of course, when it gets awkward, I tend to just talk and I kind of just ramble on. So that was definitely kind of a little bit challenging having those kind of conversations not in person. And then I had one student who was doing gymnastics all over her living room floor. And I was like, where's your mom? Don't get hurt. Maybe you should get down off the mantle. She was seriously on the mantle. But we made it all work, and it definitely wasn't easy. But teachers and students, we were there for one another, even though it just felt so different. I do remember saying goodbye at the end of the school year, and one of my students, she didn't want to hang up with me. She just kind of kept talking, and she was, very emotional and very sad. And she was crying a little bit, of course. That was really hard for me. I don't like it when a child is crying. It just breaks my heart. She did finally hang up, but, I just worried about her. I worried actually about all of my students. It was just a really hard time for all of us, and I wish I could have given them an extra hug goodbye when I did see them for the last time in person.
That reminds me of something that I did. There was a moment where we were told we could go back into the building and we could pack up all of our students' things so that they could come and pick them up, but we could not be there. And I remember thinking, but I just want to see my kids. And so I blew up the flat version of myself and I taped it to my whiteboard. And then I drew some hands coming out from the side and I said, one last hug or high five. And then kids would take a picture with that and send it to me after they picked up their stuff. And I was like, even though I couldn't be there with them when they picked it up, I wanted it to be a special experience where they felt like I was there with them and that they knew that I cared about them. It was sweet.
Going back to the funny parts, I remember I had a really awkward situation happen where I had a one-on-one with one of my students and he couldn't figure out the sound, and he kept giving me the emoji with the hands up in the air, but it was him, and he was like, I can't do that. Yeah, I can't hear you. And I had pictures printed out that I would hold up of push this button, and he would shake his head no at me like, I still don't know, I don't see the button. And then all of a sudden it was like you saw the light bulb go on, like, I know what I'm going to do. And he runs with his computer down the hall, and I'm like, oh, he's going to go get help, which he did, but he went into the bathroom where his grandpa was sitting on the toilet. and handed the computer to his grandpa. And I remember like seeing just seeing legs, and I was just like, nope. And I shut my computer, and then I waited a while, and I was like, okay, I gotta do something. So I reached out to them and I said, okay, I think that I had some technical difficulties. If you want to try again. And then we did end up getting on. And so the grandpa was like, well, I'm glad you had technical difficulties because he brought that into the bathroom. And I was like, oh, really? Weird. Okay, well, that was great timing then. So it was just funny things happened all the time. And those funny times were really important because we were dealing with things that we had never dealt with before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't know if I have a funny story, but I do have a heartwarming story. And I just remember the overwhelming love and support from the families. And I generally do not ever give out my personal information. Like people ask, where do you live? And I'm like, well, I live at the school. Don't you know? But I had several wonderful families that were like, we just really want to spoil you. Can we please have your address so that we can drop something off on your porch? And I was like, okay, yes. And I remember getting packages of homemade sourdough bread and some yummy adult beverages and Eileen's cookies and all kinds of things that were just
I
so
had some
sweet.
things dropped off at my house, but
Well,
I had great families too.
no one dropped anything off at my house, but that's okay.
Someone's better.
I did have a snow day though one time. It was snowing pretty hard, and I just said we just had like our morning meeting, and then I was like, all right, it's a snow day, go have fun.
Aw,
And then I made donuts with my family.
Oh, I love that.
that's fun. If we had a pivot again, what would we do differently?
We would do less. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, but I think that we did learn that, virtual learning is not always the best situation for kids. And I know that there are other school districts that if it's a snow day or if something happens where they can't go into the buildings, they still do virtual.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that we do not. So that also got me thinking, what's an unexpected positive that came out of having to pivot during this experience?
I think for the first grade team, we became really solid by the end of that. We knew how important it was to have fun. We also brought a lot of joy to ourselves. And, in our families, my family would be like, why are you dressed like that? What are you guys doing now? One time, our spa day when I was like, okay, Chad, so I need you to massage my shoulders. Don't be in the screen, just your hands. So when the meeting starts.
down.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird, but he's like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now he doesn't even ask when we do crazy things. He just loves hearing all our stories.
Oh my gosh. I agree. I believe that it did bring us a lot closer, and it allowed us to do some different things with our students
Yeah.
and with each other that we normally wouldn't do. But one thing that I also appreciated was working for a district that did everything that we could to make sure that our students would be safe, but that they also got what they need. And their message was loud and clear: put relationships first and to be understanding of everybody's different situations, because we never knew what was happening at home.
Yeah.
We're parents getting sick, or we're parents working as essential workers,
Right.
and students were now home. And so that was the forefront of every decision that we were making. And I was able to hand out Chromebooks to the back of students' cars.
Yeah.
I had volunteered to do that. And it was such a humbling event as car after car pulled up. And it was kindergarten all the way through high school picking up these Chromebooks. And it made me just think about how, even though us teachers had to learn how to pivot, so did our tech department, our nutrition department, our special ed team. Even I think, Kelsey, weren't you working over spring break just to figure out how we were going to maneuver everything?
Yeah, there was just a lot of change during that time. It's like we were taking everything that we were used to for so many years and completely changing it in a week.
Yeah, the ultimate pivot.
Yeah, and I loved our nutrition department.
Yeah.
Knew that our kids still needed food during this time. And so they would pack up food on buses and they would come to the neighborhoods. And I remember I would go and just hang out and watch all the kids so I could see some of them and wave as they were
6
getting their
feet
food.
apart.
6
Yeah.
feet apart. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though we were uncertain about what all of this meant, we knew that our district was going to be looking out for our safety, our students' safety. And I think that meant a lot to us as well. It showed the importance of priorities in our
Yeah.
district.
For sure. So what encouragement would you share with teachers who might need to pivot and navigate unexpected changes today?
Yeah, I think change is hard. And in our field, it's inevitable. I mean, we're in the business of children, and in that business, nothing ever stays the same. Children are always growing and learning. I think in order to process through change, you need to first get out of frustration mode. And once you're out of that frustration, then you can make an action plan and figure out like how to really move forward. And I think reaching out to someone who can help you process through that and help you make a plan is super helpful.
This year has been all about change for me, changing to a new school, having different people on the first grade team at my new school. And then things happened during the school year where the first grade team had one schedule, and then we realized actually second grade needs that schedule. So pivoting our schedule and changing it to help second grade was huge for us. And then I have 2 new students this past week, and that was a huge change.
Those are always big changes when you get a new student.
And just helping them navigate the school and our classroom, but the hardest challenge is that they don't speak English. They speak another language.
That's hard.
So me as a teacher, I had to make some huge changes and find some different tools so that I can communicate and build a relationship with them, and also have my students build relationships with them. So that was really big.
And then having support system around you to help you navigate through that change is also, I think, what helps when you're stuck in those moments of like, oh, I don't know what to do, and this change is so hard, and I don't know how I'm going to get through it.
I think as a parent, I've adopted this philosophy that has really helped me change my perspective when parenting 2 little kids of everything goes through phases.
Mm-hmm.
So like this phase of not sleeping or this phase of not eating, right? It's just this phase will pass. And as a parent trying to figure out how to deal with just that phase. And then it's like once you conquer that, you like leveled up in parenthood. And now we're on to the next phase, right? And I feel like that applies to teaching too. There's always going to be some sort of change that it's going to be a phase you have to go through and figure out how to level up.
Yeah, I
And
love
this
that.
too shall pass.
That's right.
My mom says that all the time. I'll call her and I'll be like, Mom, and I'll be telling her everything. She'll be like, I'm going to give you the same advice I've been giving you for
Long
the
time.
29 years
Oh,
that you've
29
been.
now? You're 29?
Yeah, I'm 29 now. I know I'm getting older. And that is that this too shall pass. I thought about getting it tattooed on me because then I wouldn't have to call my mom, but I still would call her anyway. So no, so I think that that's really a good
reminder that change is constant.
Yeah, I'm remembering to control the controllables, right? Just rolling with it and saying, I have no control over this, but this is something that I can do, helped me through that time. Knowing that this too will pass. I don't know what that looks like for tomorrow, but for today, this is what I'm going to do. And so I look back at it and I see it as those challenges and changes that were coming. We took that as opportunities to try something new or to do something different. And when I look back at that time of pivoting, the challenges that we were facing actually became the great memories and the moments of triumph. Like I remember reflecting back on that 1-year anniversary and being so proud of all that the district, my team, and I had accomplished and the changes that we all had to do at that time. So I'm a little bit of a dork. I did write a poem.
Let's hear it. I'd love to hear your poem. Can I hear it?
So this was my way of processing it. 1 year later, I wrote all the details of the things that I was reminiscing that had happened a year before, leading up to the whole quarantine. And then the last little bit was about like us coming back and how we had to pivot, getting back into the next school year. And so
Are you going to be able to get through it without crying?
I'm going to try, but if I can't, I'll pass it off to you.
We're here for you. You got
Okay.
this.
Knowing what I know now, I look at my peers with awe, which is you guys. I know, right? That's why I might tear up because you guys are amazing. 3 weeks turned into months and the emotions turned raw. Remote learning? You want me to do exactly what? My open mind was beginning to feel shut. I'm flying the plane, but you want me to build it? My remote teaching just doesn't seem to be fit. I'll practice what I preach. I'll learn to do hard things and teach. Then the end came with relief and sorrow. I'd given more hugs if I knew that there was no tomorrow. No field trips, hatching chicks. I wanted to cry. We didn't even get to really say goodbye. Now that we're here 120 days into the school year, I feel like we've climbed our Everest and it's time to cheer. Other school districts said, this is impossible, but not our school district. They said, let's make it possible. We've jumped through the hoops and we have complied. Even though they are zoned, our playgrounds are occupied. The masks 3 feet, the cleaning we do has proven we can do anything we put our minds to. The students not sharing, oh, this will be brilliant. But the students proved to be very resilient. We can't share the playground, equipment, or tools, but we have them right here learning in our schools. We reinvented birthday parties and treats and how to get our students moving in their seats. We've learned how to bend and not to break, and we did all of this for our students' sake. Some days are amazing, some days are tough. Some days we go overboard, and other days we say, good enough. But the one thing that always remains consistent is that I'm so darn proud to be a dental assistant. Just kidding. I'm proud to be a teacher. I couldn't find anything that would rhyme with consistent. So
I love that.
I love that. So sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So sweet. All right, listeners on the loose, it is your turn. This week, we're challenging you to share some of your challenging moments as a teacher and what you did to make sure it was still a great experience for your students. So tag us on Instagram at Teachers on the Loose or on X at TeachersOTL and send us your story. Who knows, we might just feature you in an upcoming episode.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, sometimes in life, you just have to pivot.
But through it all, when we had that big change, we adapted, we grew, and we found creative ways to make it work. And today we can look back at those unexpected twists, the lessons we learned, and the moments that reminded us why we love what we do.
absolutely. All right, guys, join us next week when we start talking about the day that Olga came to substitute at the school.
Wait, who's Olga?
No, I've heard of her.
Oh, don't you know Olga? Yeah, sure. She came to school one day and took over the class.
Was she nice?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, she was a peach.
I can't wait.
This is Teachers on the Loose.
I feel like we need a sound effect right there of bats. Can we make that happen?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a bat?
That's a crow. Like, aren't they like squeaky?
Yeah.
It's a funny squeaky noise.